Well, personally, I'm loving all the purple in the room. John Schmidt rocks an incredible purple bow tie over there. And I do know several Steeler fans who are actually wearing purple in honor of our speaker, and we appreciate that. Monday was opening day for baseball, and it may seem a little odd to be decorating the ballroom here at Rotary in purple and black, but this is anything but the off-season for the Baltimore Ravens. In fact, most would agree that this time of year is when football teams are positioned to make playoff runs and hopefully a trip to the Super Bowl. How crazy is that? The playoffs in January and February are critically affected by the team's decisions made in March, April, and May of the previous year. The Ravens are right in the middle of signing free agents and getting ready for the May draft. The Ravens have been busy the last 30 days or so re-signing their own free agents such as Dennis Pitta, Darryl Smith, Eugene Monroe, and Jacoby Jones. But they also have added to the team from other teams with a wide receiver, Steve Smith Sr., a center, Jeremy Zutta, and a safety in Darren Stewart, excuse me. My son Chase would tell you that the best GM in football, Ozzie Newsome, will be selecting the 17th pick of the draft in exactly 36 days, and he has 7 additional picks over the following 2 days to put the Ravens back in contention for those playoffs. Our speaker is Kevin Byrne. He's the Senior Vice President for Public and Community Relations for the Baltimore Ravens. Kevin is an integral part of the franchise for the past 34 years, overseeing the Ravens Public and Community Relations Department. Actually, this is Kevin's second time coming to Rotary. In 1996, with the Ravens first coming to Baltimore, Kevin brought the Raven Caravan to Rotary, bringing owner Art Modell, All-Pro left tackle Tony Jones, and a newly drafted player who was strikingly young, skinny, and I remember him actually being shy, future Hall of Famer Ray Lewis. As mentioned, Kevin's time with the former Browns and Ravens spanned 34 years, and during Kevin's NFL career, he has started award-winning team marketing, TV, and website departments, and Kevin has provided media relations assistance in 25 Super Bowls at the NFL's request. And he will probably no doubt show you his Super Bowl ring, which he allowed me to try on, which was very cool. His duties are also including contract negotiations, directing the team's marketing departments, and serving on committees to interview and select Raven head coaches. Kevin is usually the second person to welcome new players to the team following Ozzie Newsome, as he coordinates the new additions to the Raven family. When players do something special for the community, it's Kevin's department that helps to get the news out of all the good works. When a player lands into a controversy, again, it's Kevin's department that helps manage the media storm that sure is to follow. Kevin is a critical part of the management team, helping to coordinate a huge organization. You'll see Kevin in the background of every major move the Ravens make. He writes a blog for the Ravens site, the Byrne Identity, and does radio shows in New York and Baltimore markets during the season. Kevin is a very busy man. Kevin will fill us in on the moves the Ravens have made as they built the team for 2014 and the expectations of returning to the playoffs and a run for another Super Bowl. If you want to get a guarantee, we'll take it. And Kevin will share his insights of a unique business called the NFL. We have carved out extra time today, and so we will hope there'll be a robust question and answers following Kevin's formal remarks. If I were Terry's guest, I would ask you to please warm welcome Kevin.
Thank you very much. What Mike left out is that Kevin's also an idiot. Before coming in here, I used the men's room, washed my hands, and then I threw the towel into the wastebasket, and my newest Super Bowl ring came off. And so whoever followed those two gentlemen, the reason I was in the garbage is because what I'm going to do, because you seem like to be a trustworthy group, Jonathan, if you wouldn't mind, this is the Super Bowl ring for 2 years ago. If you can start at the table back there, you guys just pass it around while I'm speaking. If you want to stamp a picture of it, go ahead. If you are a Ravens fan, Best way to do is put the ringer on, put it up there, and have somebody snap a shot. If you're a Steeler fan, I'd ask you not to mangle it. If you're an Eagle fan, that's what one looks like. Mike, thanks for the info. By a show of hands, how many Eagle fans? Steelers. Ravens. Yeah, all right. Here we go. So just a little aside, you don't often in my world get to sing "God Bless America" very much. And I'll always moved by the song, and I've often thought that should be the song sung before every sporting event. And it's no knock on our national anthem, which is born in Baltimore, and we're all proud of. But God Bless America has the words that make you proud, make you feel good about who we are and where we live, and the words just fit better. And plus, it's a lot easier to sing. And so that's just an aside. Lori, Ola, and congratulations to both you on your upcoming 50th, and to the great work at the Children's House. So that's terrific. You know, it wasn't too long ago. It was 17-17 near the end of the third quarter in our final game of the season at Cincinnati. And I looked up at the scoreboard, and the Miami Dolphins were trailing by 10. And if they lost and we won, we were back in the playoffs, and we'd have a chance to make our run. We had just gotten a little healthier. We got 2 defensive players back, and we had Dennis Pettis back, and I thought, okay, here we go. And then we failed. We failed to make the next stand, and then Joe Flacco threw an interception in the fourth quarter, and the Bengals beat us, and we didn't make the playoffs. We were 8-8. We were just another team in the NFL. It was the first time in 6 years that the Ravens did not make the playoffs. We had the NFL's best run. No team has made the playoffs 5 of the last 6 years. We had a 5-year run, 3 AFC championship games, and of course the victory over the 49ers in Super Bowl 47. And now we're fighting back and trying to get back. And it's kind of like Rachel said, Rachel, it's about getting back up, right? And so right now we're getting back up. We have a solid foundation, starting with our owner, Steve Bisciotti, and Mike mentioned Ozzie Newsome, the best general manager. And then he's a great example for your son. And so we're putting the pieces back together, and hopefully we'll be a little healthier. And we think we're going to make a strong run. And the goal is to get into the dance, as Jacoby Jones would say. Get into the dance so you have a chance to win that. You know, we won as a wild card. We won as a division champion. So you just have to get in the playoffs, and that's our goal again. And we think we'll have a pretty good shot at it. What I'm going to do is talk a little bit about the uniqueness of my business, and this is for all fans here, Eagles, Steelers, and Ravens, and a little bit about the power of the NFL. You know, the Baltimore Sun and the Washington Post, Philadelphia Inquirer, they do not have a reporter covering the Middle East war today, which is kind of amazing when you think about it. Each of those, or excuse me, only the Washington Post has a reporter at the White House every day. The Baltimore Sun used to, the Philadelphia Inquirer used to, but they don't do it anymore. The Boston Globe had one reporter cover the Vietnam War. In Super Bowl 39, a few years ago, the Boston Globe sent 45 reporters to cover the Patriots in the Super Bowl. We had 35 reporters cover us from the Baltimore Sun in Super Bowl in 2000, after we won in 2001, actually. There were 27 Baltimore Sun reporters covering us in New Orleans a year ago in February, when we won the Super Bowl a year ago. So the impact might be out of whack, but the impact of the NFL on this society and our culture is pretty powerful. The top 40 most watched programs of all time are Super Bowls. That means for us older folks, you know, the final episode of Roots or the final episode of MASH, they're not in there. It's all Super Bowls. The most watched programs in Baltimore since 1996 every year is the Baltimore Ravens game. The top 20 most watched programs in 2013 in Baltimore were Baltimore Ravens game of of course, with the Super Bowl being the ultimate. 8 out of 10 homes in Baltimore area, it's called the ABI, 8 out of 10 have the Super Bowl on when we play. So we have great power. The Super Bowl now is a national holiday. There are more snacks, more beer, more wine sold for Super Bowl weekend than July 4th, Memorial Day combined. Think about that. More than Thanksgiving, more than the holidays in December, and we want days off because of that. Football is my passion. It's a unique business. We have our own section of the paper. We have our own section of TV news. You know, they cover us all the time. The NFL has its own network, the NFL Network. The Baltimore Sun, which is a shrinking newspaper, has 3 people whose only job, 365 days of the year, is to cover us. We don't have that much news. You know, we have to beat them away sometimes. Or they're going to go in a direction we don't like them to go. When we have a home game, just, an hour south of here, there are over 100 reporters at the home game. When we have a Monday night game, or a Sunday night game, or a Thanksgiving night game, as we've had 2 of the last 3 years, there are 200 reporters, over 200. When we have a playoff game in Baltimore, there are over 300 reporters. They come from London, they come from Germany, they come from Mexico, they come from all over the United States. It's power. And it's strange, you could, if somebody came here and put up, no, I don't mean this, the hotel, they put up a new hotel and spent $500 million to put a new hotel in York, Pennsylvania, you know what that would mean to the community and the power of that. Well, Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth aren't going to come with a TV crew of 300 people and cover them, and maybe that's wrong. They're not going to go to the Children's Home of York. They're going to come to our game, and so there's power with that, and we should pay attention. But the great thing with sport, the great thing with football, especially NFL, there is no device in the United States that can bring people together for a common cause. No church, no government, no more than an NFL team. You all come together. Rich, poor, color, religion, doesn't matter. All for the common cause. All for the common cause. Let's win the game. And with that, we have responsibility to be responsible and try to do good. And we try to. We had over 700 player appearances in this area, including York, in 2013. 700. We try to draft good people. We try to trade for good people. We try to sign free agents who are good people, who are good players. And we want them to be involved with the community. The great thing is, we ask them all to get involved, and almost all of them say yes, and many of them are repeat yeses over and over again. Do we have bad guys? Do we have people who make mistakes? Clearly we do. Look at the headlines, look at the stories, but we try. Now a little bit about the Ravens, and then we can talk and answer some questions. We have a new offensive coordinator, Gary Kubiak. He fell into our laps. Gary Kubiak got his job as the head coach of the Houston Texans because he was the best offensive coordinator in the NFL. And he got fired after going 12-4 the year before. Had a bad season. They fired him. He did not want to become an offensive coordinator. He wanted to become a head coach. The Texans were paying him for another year. And in the last hurrah, as John Harbaugh, in his thoroughness, was calling a guy about Mike Shanahan's son, Kyle. And Kyle was finalist to be our offensive coordinator, had been the offensive coordinator last year with the Washington Redskins. And in calling Rick Dennison about Kyle Shanahan, Rick had worked with him many years, both in Denver and the Texans, Rick said, John, you should think about calling Gary Kubiak. And John said, well, we did a couple weeks ago, and he said he was going to be a head coach or sit out. But I think he might have changed his mind. So within 10 hours, Gary Kubiak was John Harbaugh's house on a Sunday. John wined and dined him, and along with his wife Ingrid, and by that Monday morning we had a new offensive coordinator, and we're excited about that. We're excited too because we have a quarterback who was the most valuable player in the Super Bowl most recently, Joe Flacco. He has the most wins in the history of the NFL in his first 5 seasons. He has the most wins in the history of the NFL in his first 5 seasons. That's all you need to know about Joe Flacco. He is calm in the storm. The first time I met him, he comes with his 5 brothers and sisters, his mom and dad, one of his uncles, one of his grandparents, and we drafted him the day before. We bring him into our facility, and it's chaotic. There's a lot of people buzzing, and Joe's above the fray because he's 6'5", almost 6'6". But I just noticed when he walked in, like Ozzie Newsome came out of the draft room to meet all the Flaccos, and Joe calmly go, "Mom, that's the gentleman who drafted him. Dad, that's the owner of the team. Mike, his brother, that's the offensive coordinator. He's going to be my boss." And he did it with such calm. I remember saying to all the people after he left later in the day, I said, "I don't know what it will mean on the football field, but here's a young guy, a young man in a very chaotic situation. He was calm." And that's what we've seen with Joe since the beginning. The more chaotic the situation, the more the game is on the line. Let's go back to Denver in the playoff game. And he calmly steps up and flings it 65 yards in the air, and Jacoby Jones catches it, we tie it, we win in overtime, go and thump the Patriots in the AFC Championship, and then go on to beat Jim Harbaugh's 49ers in the Super Bowl, which is very good for us in our office. It keeps John happy. Our offensive line was not very good last year and has to be better, and it will be. We just made a trade for Jeremy Zuta from the Tampa Bay Bucks. He'll be our starting center. We re-signed our left tackle who we traded for in the middle of last season, Eugene Monroe. He'll be there a long time. We have 2 healthy guys who weren't very healthy last year, Kelechi Osemele and Marshall Yanda, a Pro Bowl guard who was recovering from rotator cuff surgery. That group will be a lot better. Ray Rice will be better. Ray Rice didn't get fat. His body fat was still low. Ray Rice got bulky. And it affected the way he played. He got weightlifting bulky. He has his own trainer, and he made a mistake. That, and he got hurt in the 2nd game of the year and really never recovered from that. But Ray Rice will be back. He will probably or likely get suspended, which is a shame in many ways, because I was telling Mike and the gentleman up here, if you had to pick 5 players, if you asked me a couple months ago, give me 5 players you'd never have to worry about at midnight or 3 in the morning, Ray Rice would be one of those. He was one of our go-to guys. Go see this kid in the hospital. Call this young man. Call this young lady. He's very, very long. He's been with his now wife, who was involved with him in that incident, for 7 years. So they are in counseling. They have been in counseling. But he made a mistake that is embarrassing to him, embarrassing to us, and has changed the image of one of the good guys in sports. And he's going to have to live with that. And his only way to recover is what? Get back up. Keep fighting back. Just like Rachel said, he will do that. So we re-signed Dennis Pitt, a big tight end who can catch and run. We love Dennis. He also happens to be Joe Flacco's best friend, which doesn't hurt when they're out there trying to make plays. We added Steve Smith Sr., a feisty little receiver who's been one of the best in the league. And Steve Smith has never had a quarterback this good throwing to him in terms of accuracy. He won't have to be an acrobat to catch Joe Flacco's passes. They'll be on the money more often than not. But Torrey Smith, one of the great young men in all. You want to treat yourself, Jonathan, Rachel, go to the Washington Post website and plug in Torrey Smith. There was an article his junior year, and Ralph Friedgen said at that time, his head coach, that Torrey Smith is the best person he's ever met. And you can Google more about Torrey Smith, but we are so proud to have Torrey Smith as a member of the Ravens. And he happens to be one of the fastest guys in the world and really can catch well. And we love him because of that, too. Of course, we have the Dancing with the Star, Jacoby Jones. We re-signed him. He's a delight to be around. The personality, for those who watch that show, is what we see every day, but he's a tough competitor, too. Defensively, we were better last year than we were our Super Bowl season. We'll be even better this year. You start with Suggs and Doomerville, 2 Pro Bowl attacking pass rushers. You have a monster in the middle, Haloti Ngata. You have Lardarius Webb and Jimmy Smith, 2 outside corners who are outstanding players. And you have Daryl Smith, we re-signed as an inside linebacker who made more tackles, more turnovers than Ray Lewis had made in the previous 2 years last year. We have the young safety, our first round pick last year, Matt Elam. So that defense is coming together. We'll still add some pieces as we go along. We're excited about where we are, but we know it's not easy. The NFL tries to get everybody to 8-8. So if you win more, your draft choices are lower. So for us, we have the 17th pick in the first round this year. We're excited with that. We haven't had a pick that high in a long time, and it's a great, deep draft. There are players, our personnel people have told me that we could take in the 4th round this year that would probably be late 2nd round a year ago just because of the depth of this draft. And there are some positions in this draft, namely receiver, quarterback, although we're not looking for one, safety, that are very, very strong. Actually, if you're looking for a left tackle, you could probably get one in this draft in the first 20 picks, that probably 3 or 4 of those guys will go. And we hope all those quarterbacks go before number 17, which means some great players are going to fall to us, and Ozzie will be smiling, and we'll be smiling, and it'll make our team better. So I'm very willing to answer questions, anything you'd like. And I should ask beforehand, are there any reporters in here? Okay, good. Yes, sir.
The only difference I saw between the 2012 season and the 2013 was that we got rid of the greatest receiver in the National Football League. I understand it was in order to pay Flacco a big new contract. Is that true? And if so, Flacco should have given him some of the money in order for it to stay, because he bailed him out many times in 2012.
It was funny on Anquan Bolden he's talking about when Cam Cameron was our offensive coordinator. Joe didn't throw to Anquan, because Cam had a thing, you have to see separation, and Anquan Bolden's not very fast, but he's the best rebounder in the NFL. And so when Jim Caldwell, who just became the head coach of the Detroit Lions, became our offensive coordinator, when John Harbaugh had the guts to fire his mentor, Cam Cameron. Cam was his mentor. He hired John when John was a young college assistant, when Cam was the head coach of Indiana. Jim Caldwell said to Joe Flacco, just throw it to Anquan Bolden. Let him rebound the ball. He'll fight because he's got the strongest hands in the league. I'll tell you the truth. Ozzie Newsome watches every practice. And we pay Ozzie a lot of money to make decisions. And Ozzie had decided probably in November about a couple of our veteran players. And he wasn't going to let the emotion of the Super Bowl get involved with his decision. We were scheduled to play and pay Anquan Bolden $6 million for last season. Ozzie decided in his mind that he wasn't worth $6 million, but he's willing to pay him $4 million and spread some payments over 2-year periods to get his money back. Anquan was offended by that and said, look, I carried you to the Super Bowl. I know Joe helped. But I want my $6 million. I'm a man of my word. I have a contract. You now want to break the contract and sign a new contract. And we said, that's exactly what I want to do. And that's the cold part. Now, in retrospect, especially because Dennis Fitta got hurt on the first day of training camp, dislocated his hip, which meant the guy who was going to catch all those passes that Anquan was going to get, we didn't have. And we went out and signed 2 older players, Brandon Staley and Dallas Clark, and they ain't what they used to be. And we got caught short. In retrospect, it would have been a lot smarter to pay the $2 million extra, keep Anquan Bolden, and we would have been a lot smarter, and maybe he would have meant 1 victory or 2 victories more, and we would have been in the playoffs. But you can't go back. We can't go back. If it's a mistake, it's a mistake. But that was the thinking behind it. Yes? Yes?
So are you excited with this personnel you have coming up about this coming season? What are your thoughts about getting to the playoffs, getting through them, and taking us back to the Super Bowl?
Well, the question is, are we excited about the team, and do we have enough to get us back to the playoffs? Yeah, I think so. If, you don't know what's going to happen health-wise, but the great thing is before the draft comes in the second weekend in May, we can play today. We can line up when we have every position filled. And Ozzie loves to get in those situations. Like the other thing that Ozzie's very good at is collecting players even as late as August. We've had our starting left tackle, Willie Anderson, from a Pro Bowler from the Bengals a few years ago, took us to the AFC Championship in 2008. Played one more year with us, started, played very well. Brian McKinney played 2 years for us at left tackle, including the Super Bowl a year ago. So there are still good players out there. What will happen, there are good players who will still get released because teams will draft a position. Say Jonathan's a safety, and they draft him high, and they're paying a safety $5 million. They're going to take that veteran, they might put him out on the street, and teams looking for a safety might say, come on down. So there are still going to be talented players along with draftable players. Yeah, we think we're in really good position. We don't take it for granted. You know, we have a head coach who's driven by the fact that we are tied for first place today, and we are tied for last place. And we have to prove ourselves every time we go out there. He has a great knack, I think, of leadership to convince those players that whatever game we play is the most important thing we'll do right then. It's the only thing. We have big, big letters around our building. It says win. W period, I period, N period. Win. What's important now? The things you do now, the things you do on April 2nd, will make you a winner next February. You always pay attention to the now. Take care of the now, get it done, do the right things now, and you'll win in the end. So I love that philosophy. I love the way the players respond to him. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm the PR guy. I'm supposed to say that, but I've been around a long time. We're pretty good, and we're angry that we weren't in the playoffs, and we plan to be back.
Kevin.
Yes.
The players can't dunk the football, but now the NFL is going to let the cheerleaders go into the stands. What's up?
We are?
That was in the headline.
Well, there's some sections we're not sending them, I can tell you that. You know, the league does a terrific job in terms of making rules to keep things uniform. You know, we're accused of the no fun league, but some of the things just make sense. And but the league's very involved. Roger Goodell, our commissioner, he is old school, and he runs a strict house, and we have to agree with it. And, you know, we like to play in Cleveland. I used to love this when I worked with the Cleveland Browns. They used to say we don't have a logo on our helmet. We play on a grass field. We don't have cheerleaders. We just play football. And but now we have a logo on our helmet, and we have cheerleaders, and we put on a pretty good home event. If you've been to a home game, I think you've come to our stadium. We have a lot of fun there. It's a lot more fun when we win, but we want you to have fun even when we don't win, because you can't win every game. In the back.
What are your thoughts on the whole expansion to London or Europe? Is that something you're in favor of?
Yeah, that's a heck of a trip. You know, but you know, Jim Harbaugh coaches the 49ers. He says he's doing it all the time. You know, coming to New York or going to Atlanta or going to Florida to play. You know, so and he played in London, had to go back to San Francisco. So London, we keep selling games there. And there's talk that there could be a London franchise someday. I think that's a long way off. We like road trips to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati and Cleveland. We like to get on a train and go up to New York or go to Philadelphia or get on a bus and go to D.C. Those are easier trips. But we'll take long trips if we have to. John Harbaugh has a great thing on the schedule. When the schedule comes out, it'll come out in a couple weeks, I understand. You know, I'll go get his reaction. I said, well, you want to give a reaction to the schedule? He says, you know my reaction. Tell us when we play and I'll show up with the team. And so wherever it is, we'll play. Yes?
I'm sure you've had this question a million times, but just to relive a year ago in February of 2013 and that epic Super Bowl game, that wonderful game. What theory do you have about that second half when the lights went out? Things started to go wrong momentarily. Do you have any?
Yeah, I do have my theory. You know what I think? If you remember the year before, the commissioner of the NFL suspended Sean Payton, the Saints head coach, for a year. Suspended a number of his players, including their best defensive player, John Byrne. And we were dependent on New Orleans electricians for the Super Bowl. And all of a sudden, the lights are out in the world's most watched event. And if you notice, there's been absolutely no explanation on why the lights went out. What was the story? There's no story. This blew up or this was out. There's never a story on why it happened. So my own theory is New Orleans got them back. And it almost cost us because the 49ers were teetering. What did we just go up by 17 or 20 points? And early in the second half, we had the ball, and they just needed one more tap on the chin, and it was over. And when the timeout, when we came back, that 47 minutes later, whatever it was, or 37 minutes, I mean, they were like a new team and had us reeling. And then, of course, our defense made it stand in the end, and we lived happily ever after. But yeah, that was my theory. I might be a little nuts for thinking that, but I'm from a strong Union family, you know, and I know some of my uncles were capable of doing that. My name, I'm Byrne, B-Y-R-N-E. We used to be Old Byrne, and my grandfather, my dad's dad, came from Ireland, and he was a bricklayer. He came to Cleveland, and they weren't hiring the Irish. And so he dropped the old from his name, got a job as a bricklayer, and helped start the Bricklayers Union. And then there's a grand building in downtown Cleveland called Terminal Tower. One time was the largest building west of the Empire State Building in the United States. And he was a foreman on that. So I know he and his buddies were capable of turning things around in certain situations. Yes, ma'am.
I'm sure you saw the frontline segment on concussions.
Yes.
Just curious.
Yeah, first of all, the league is doing everything it can to make the game safer. And it's a collision sport. There's no doubt about it. Our sport is a collision sport. So you have to make the game safer. The helmets have graduated through the years. The one thing I guess I resent a little bit is that the NFL is sitting on some secrets through the years that, there are concussions happening and some of these players are going to have dementia when they're older, and that we do that and we let them play. But it's not the case. As we've all discovered more and more about head trauma, we've had to react. So we have a whole program called Heads Up Football where we're teaching grade school and high school coaches how to teach proper technique. And we've made rules in the game so you can't use your helmet as a weapon. They even have a rule now where a running back can't take his head and butt it into somebody. So we're doing all those things, but clearly there's a problem medically, and we're responsible and we're dealing with it. And we're trying to make the game safer. But in the end, football is going to be, and will continue to be, is a collision sport. I'm going to run as fast as I can into Jonathan and try to knock him down, but we're trying to take the head out of it and use the helmet only for protection. Use your pads, aim from here to here as opposed to here or down by the knee area. So I think the NFL is making progress. I think, one of the issues we have to address are mothers in football. Are they going to let their sons or daughters play football? And so we have to make our sports safe. It just makes business sense, but it's the right thing to do, and we have to take care of former players who have issues because of playing the game, and I think we're doing the right things to get that done. Yes, sir, in the back.
Two questions. What's your perspective on the quality of officiating and the use of instant replay? And secondly, do you have a position from the organization on the elimination of the extra point?
He asked about quality of officiating, about instant replay, and eliminating the extra point. Justin Tucker, who's on his rookie contract and is wanting us to do a new contract, he's our kicker. He is all for the extra point and making the kicker the most valuable player on the field because he must be paid millions of dollars. We're okay with them adjusting the extra point if they want, but it's not as easy as they think. It's not as easy. It's chaotic getting that extra point in. But we're just good at it. And shoot, we have 21 assistant coaches, and we better be good at it. And every team has that. So there'll be some variation of that. I think the officiating can be better. I think there'll be a point where there'll be full-time officials, maybe not all of them, but maybe your referees become full-time, maybe your umpires become full-time. So there will be, they will improve, but they're pretty good. You're always against it when it goes against you, as simple as that. And there are times when you lose a game because of a call that you're ready to strangle them all, and because that one loss can keep you out of the playoffs, can lose a coach and a staff their jobs. So there's a lot of pressure on officiating. And in a league where they try to get everybody to beat each other, and you see it every Sunday. There are upsets every Sunday. We can all beat each other. Where you make a league where the rules are going to make everybody almost even, the officiating has to be outstanding. Because one call can make a difference. And selfishly, it makes a difference in friends' lives. As staffs get fired. John Harbaugh gets fired, there are 21 assistant coaches who get fired with him. It's 21 families, there's 21 sets of kids having to move and go to different schools. There's a lot of harshness involved with our business. High risk, high reward. And what was the last one?
Instant replay.
Instant replay, yeah. I'm for do it as often as can and get it right. You can't have you guys know more than what we know. You guys sit at home and watch television and say, hey, that's obvious. And we're saying sometimes, I'm looking at a monitor saying, well, this is going to overturn. And when the guy trots out there and says it's not overturned, I'm going, geez, we saw it. How come he can't see it? So I'm for anything you can do to get it right, do it right. I'll give you a secret of the NFL. The reason they don't want everything reviewed, games go a little too long. And CBS pays a lot of money to the NFL. And what does CBS have every Sunday for the last 25 years at 7 o'clock? 60 minutes. 60 minutes. They don't want us to interfere with 60 minutes. So we're already pushing 60 minutes back a little bit. But if the games go too long, all of a sudden 60 minutes is starting at 8:15 or 8:30, and 60 minutes doesn't get those great ratings that they always get. So we always call it the 60 minutes rule. Keep the games as fast and get the 60 minutes as close to 7 o'clock as possible. We'll do how many?
Can I ask a follow-up to that?
Yeah.
On instant replay, so as a fan, I know within 10 seconds if it's a bad call, but they go under the hood. Is there talk of speeding that process up and just having a guy upstairs radio down the official and say, reverse it, keep it? I mean, the whole thing just seems like...
It's about the instant replay system. Can it be sped up? We're taking a step. This year, there's a set of officials in New York who will be watching all games. And when there's something going on, they will be inside the booth, able to talk to the referee, say, hey, we saw it, you don't have to look at it, go reverse it. The problem is, this is a little bit, now think about, put yourself in that situation. You're the referee, you made the call, all right? You're going in there to reverse your call. And you're going to have to trot out to one of those head coaches and say, sorry. And one of those head coaches is going to cheer you. You don't want to do that. You don't want to admit you're wrong. And that there's a human element to this. So having that New York part of it, I think it's fast. I love the college version of it. College is done very fast. They're going over the sideline, they put a headset on, somebody's upstairs saying, reverse it, get out of here, go. You don't have to trot over there and look at it. We'll do, what time do you want me to end? Because I see lots of hands. One more question? So I'm going to go here.
My son went to the University of Delaware, and we didn't get to see Flacco play because he graduated the year before my son started. But I'm familiar with their program there, and I just want to salute the Ravens for finding talent in a smaller program. You have to watch all these larger programs nationwide. To be able to find someone of Flacco's quality like that and pull it out of that level of play, I think it speaks well for your recruiting and drafting process.
Thank you, and I'll end this with this story on Joe Flacco. He was talking about Delaware, and the fact that we found Joe at Delaware. Well, he's almost 6'6", so it's kind of easy to find. But our scouts, because that was the year Matt Ryan was coming out. So our owner was saying, Matt Ryan from Boston College, let's find a way to get up in the draft. We don't have a quarterback. We've been out in the desert for years looking for a quarterback. Let's go get him. Let's go get Matty Ice. And Ozzie was telling her, well, there might be a guy better at Delaware. Yeah, Steve would say, okay, let's go get Matt Ryan, because I've watched him play on television, and I want Matt Ryan. So we were trying to move up, and it wasn't going to work. But we had a private workout with Joe Flacco on a day that was about 38 degrees and windy up at Delaware. There were no markings on the field. Joe came with a set of receivers from Delaware and Delaware footballs that he was very comfortable with. Our guys came with a couple of receivers who we wanted to work out, guys Joe didn't know, and new NFL footballs. It was rainy, it was cold, it was windy. In a 45-minute throwing exhibition, the ball didn't hit the ground. And Cam was our offensive coordinator at that time. Our director of college scouting, Joe Ortiz, was there. Our assistant general manager, Eric DeCosta, was there. And our player personnel specialist, George Kokinis, who had been the general manager of the Cleveland Browns, was there. So the workout finishes, and Cam Cameron says, without looking around, this is Eric DeCosta told me the story, don't look at each other, don't smile, just walk to the car. Just walk to the car quietly. They get in the car, and Eric says to the group, don't look around you, just pull out of campus. They get outside of campus, and Eric says, it's like, holy cow! Can we get this guy? And where do we have to be to get that guy? And now you figure out, where do we have to be to get him? And so we couldn't get Matty Ice, and so we're sitting there, we want Joe Flacco. We traded, and we were down like at 22 or 23, I forgot what it was, and Ozzie started getting nervous. And we made a trade to move up to the 18th pick to go get Joe Flacco. We later found out the team that had the 19th pick was going to take him. So you never know. We got Joe Flacco, and as Ozzie says, we are no longer wandering in the desert for 40 years. We have a quarterback, we love him, and he's going to be with us for a long time, and we'll succeed with him. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I appreciate it.